A DeKalb County Sheriff's officer says she believes a medical contractor is to blame for the death of a former inmate. That officer's claim discovered by our Reveal investigators team in records recently made available to the public. Reveal investigator Andy Parati walks us through what happened.
Cell 108, be advised, I have an inmate complaining of difficulty breathing.
A DeKalb County officer alerts staff of an inmate having a medical emergency inside its detention center in May 2019. He's 64-year-old Clarence Manning, unable to walk and in serious pain.
As I was rolling the wheelchair out of the room, he just started shaking, like he wouldn't stop shaking.
A short time later, the U.S. Army veteran went unconscious.
Third floor, 1016.
And never woke back up. The cause of death, strangulated indirect inguinal hernia, which means he died because the blood supply to his intestine was cut off. Shirley Nelson is Clarence's sister.
I said, we need to know what happened to my brother. And he told me they were doing an investigation and they would let us know, which they never did.
For more than a year, Clarence's family wondered what happened to him inside the DeKalb County Detention Center. They didn't understand why he died from a hernia, not an elusive condition difficult to treat. But then, we got a hold of audio recordings that paint a picture of what went wrong. The recordings are part of an internal affairs investigation by the sheriff's office. Listen to one officer explain the response she received from the jail's medical staff after asking them for help.
Nurse Reed, she said, we just had a signal too from that same inmate. There's nothing wrong with him, his hernia problem. That's not a major issue. He's going to be in pain sometimes.
Tanisha Ramson was the jail's doctor at the time. You can hear an investigator frustrated with Dr. Ransom after learning it took 2 officers, a sergeant, and a lieutenant to convince her a wheelchair was needed to pick up Clarence.
There's obviously something wrong when that many people are calling to say, hey, I need medical to respond, to come and get him. There's an issue there.
This officer makes it clear who she thinks is at fault.
So I feel like it could have been prevented, but I don't think medical perceived it as being serious.
And what was your reaction when you learned the truth?
I was mad and I was hurt. Nobody deserves to die like that.
Natalie Woodward is the family's attorney.
But at the end of the day, the deputies and the correction officers are at the mercy of the medical providers. And the medical providers are contracted companies that the county contracts with and the counties depend on to give this medical care to.
DeKalb County uses a company called WellPath to staff the jail's infirmary. It declined an on-camera interview. Over the past 10 years, DeKalb County has paid WellPath about $9 million a year. It's a billion-dollar company with contracts in jails and prisons in 34 states. And no stranger to controversy over the care to detainees, with more than 1,400 lawsuits filed against it and the company it merged with in 2018.
Your job was there to give him the medical treatment that he needed at that time. When you get to be to where you can judge people based on whatever is going on, then you ought to be God. But God ain't gave his job to nobody.
DeKalb County Sheriff Melanie Maddox declined to respond to Clarence's death or the medical care WellPath provides to inmates. We also reached out to the jail's former doctor, but didn't hear back from her. Right now, the county's $9 million contract with WellPath stays in place, and it will continue providing medical care for detainees.